Aloha and welcome. My name is Juergen Steinmetz. I'm joining you from Honolulu, Hawaii, from eTurboNews and livestream.travel. With me, as always, is Dr. Peter Tarlow in College Station, Texas. Peter, it's a wonderful sunny day here in Hawaii. How are things in Texas? And welcome back home. You've been traveling.
Thank you. Yes, we'll talk a little bit about my trip to Costa Rica and to Colombia. But Texas really received me with beautiful weather today. It's in the upper 70s during the day and around 55 degrees at night. For those people who think in Celsius, that's about 24, 25 degrees during the day and about 18 degrees at night. So it's cool evenings, beautiful bright stars, and nice sunny days. So this is really a wonderful time to be in Texas. The fall season in Texas is just great. The real severe heat is gone, and people are really outside enjoying, and there's a little bit of crispness, not Christmas, but crispness in the air. It's crisp, and people are really enjoying this weather a lot.
And Peter, you just came back from South America, right? Where did
Yes,
you
I did. And one of the things I saw, and it kind of pointed out, I think, a problem, especially in the United States. In Latin America, for the whole, they're still very good about customer service and very good about doing things. Some of the American chains made it sort of clear that they weren't going to clean your room or whatever, but most Latin Americans still expect fairly high levels of service. And I'm really afraid that I think it started with the airline industry, and now got been caught to the hotel industry, that the enchantment of tourism is going to die. And one of the reasons that people are willing to spend $400 or $500 in a hotel or first class on an airline is they expect a certain level of service, so a certain level of esprit de corps, of joie de vivre. And as hotels, they claim it's for COVID. I don't really believe it's for COVID because people are walking around without masks. They're doing all sorts of other non-COVID related activities. But it seems wherever in the tourism industry, in too many places, they could cut back. They cut back, and COVID has become the excuse, not the reality. And I think, travel's had a really hard time. And if we really want to win people back, we really need to give them the enchantment, the beauty, the excitement, the luxury, the sense that people care, that we didn't have for almost 2 years. And I don't think this is a winning method to win customers back.
And Peter, I think the problem is started being beyond not wanting to give the service and saving money. There's simply not enough people. People are scared to work as mates in hotels. We're closing our borders for the most part. We don't let immigrants in that had filled these jobs. These visas are history. And the situation is, and you're absolutely right, when we travel for leisure, we want to be pampered because we don't get our beds made at home every day. We don't get new sheets. So it's something special. I love to have new sheets every single day on the bed. It's nice and clean.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely not just being friendly in a service, and travel is not only to get from place E and place B and have a miserable time. It's to go to another place and enjoy the time,
Yeah, so, we have, of course, you're speaking specifically also in the United States, where we have this irony, people don't want to work, but now we're close to 2 million illegal immigrants, many of whom have COVID and other problems, are coming across the border, and they're also not working. So we have a real, very strange economy where it's cheaper for someone makes more money if they don't work than if they do work. And so you are right on that level. But on the other hand, tourism cannot give up the enchantment of tourism, because if it just becomes pedantic, pedestrian every day, people are not going to want to, they'll say, you know what, staycation, I'll stay home. I'll go to a nice restaurant and that'll be it. And, I was coming back and from Latin America, there's so many forms, and getting from Costa Rica to Colombia, and you can only do it the day you leave. And the Colombian form, for example, had all these documents that you had to fill out, and it said by country. You go down this drop list. But so I looked for United States. Wanted you know your nationality? There's no United States. It finally occurred to me, even though the entire form was in English, they called the United States Estados Unidos. So I said, oh, let's look for EEUU, which is the Spanish abbreviation. But if I didn't speak Spanish, I wouldn't have been able to fill out the form and get into Colombia. And there was all sorts. You had to do a special form for Costa Rica. I'm going in a few weeks to Israel, and they have God knows how many forms again that you have to go through. So I'm not picking on any one country. I'm saying that we're giving less service. There's less charm. There's less enchantment. There's more bureaucracy. And I think in the end, that will be kill the goose that lays the golden egg.
And talking about forms, a lot of the European countries actually do it online. But it's another problem. There are many people that simply don't know how to download an app and do all of this. There's still some from our generation and up.
Yes.
They may have issues with it. But for the most part, for the younger guys, it's quite easy because you can scan things here and you can scan from your ticket on the other hand and you're all set. So you just need to understand it. It's an educational process, I think. But forms are absolute. I mean, if I look, even flying here to Hawaii, for decades, we have this agriculture form you have to fill out. No one has any pens on the plane. So you get pens from your neighbor and you get pens from other people. You have to touch them. It is completely behind the time. And to top it all off, what drives me crazy with these forms, at the end, they ask you what date it is, what date you're flying. And then they ask you again what date you signed the form. So obviously it's the same date. These forms make no sense.
No, they don't. Now, I will say that going into both Costa Rica and Colombia, they were online forms. The problem with the online form is that there's a mistake in the app. There's nobody to talk to. And meanwhile, you can't get into the country without the app. So, for example, in my case, I'm lucky I speak Spanish, and it occurred to me that they would have USA under the letter E, double E. But if you don't speak Spanish, you would never find the United States because the entire form was in English. But where it said for Americans, they switched it to Spanish abbreviations, which are completely different from English abbreviations. And, somebody else, and there's nobody to talk to. You can't get help. So I saw people really just reduced to tears. And I don't mind. The other thing is we've got to make them simpler. They asked me on some of these electronic forms for the same information 5 times. Or how old are you? Then what is your birthday? Well, if you know my birthday, you know how old I am.
But they want to make sure it's like going into a pharmacy and you have to give them your name and spell it and your birthday. How many by the name of Peter Tarlow are going to pick up the same medicine at a pharmacy in College Station,
And then the most ironic thing, when I went to Costa Rica, so I filled out all these forms and they send you back this electronic code and you download it, and I had it already, and you put it on your computer. So I get to Costa Rica, I said, do you want to see it? The lady says, no.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, why did I go through all this? When I get to the countries, I don't even care.
Yeah, I know, and it's you have to, like coming to Hawaii, you have to have green arrows, and sometimes there's just a little thing you don't see, and you don't do a check mark here, and you don't put your name in 5 times.
Do it.
Yeah, it won't work. You're not going to go.
Last time I went to, I took people to Israel. You had to say how many. Were you going to be there for 2 weeks? Another, 1 to 2 weeks. 2 weeks to a month, et cetera, et cetera. So we were coming, I was bringing a group and they're going to be there for 9 days. The lady said, you can't come in. I said, why can't we? She said, because you're supposed to stay for 2 weeks. It says right here. And you're leaving in 9 days. I said, no, that's a maximum of 2 weeks. It doesn't mean you can't leave beforehand. But luckily I speak Hebrew. So I was able to yell and scream at her until she said, oh, okay. But she was told part of the problem with the electronics is not only as the people my age who have problems, I think a lot of people who work at the airports don't understand it. And so they misinterpret their own country.
Well, I don't know if you ever filled out a visa form for either Russia or India. And
Right.
one of the things they're asking you in this visa form to list all the entries and exits to any country you had visited in the last 5 years. Peter, you can put a gun on my chest. I wouldn't know that. Yes, forms are there to frustrate people. Really, they don't really many times have a purpose. And I, not giving you maid service in a hotel, it's counterproductive, especially in areas. I mean, I came back from Kansas City a couple of weeks ago, and there was no service in the Sheraton Hotel. And when you ask the front desk, they tell you should have told us 2 days ago. And I said, well, I only got here yesterday. That didn't help. So you don't get the service. But on the other hand,
You don't get a discount. Now, you know what?
So it doesn't really make any difference,
It really would not matter as much if the hotel was, I'm just making this up, but let's say the hotel charges $500 a night. If they said, okay, because we are not giving you maid service, we are discounting it by $100. In other words, we understand that you're not getting the service, so we're not going to charge you full price. But instead, prices have gone up and service has gone down. Now, that's going to, in the end, destroy the tourism industry, because people who are not being pampered, that's part of the fun of tourism. And if it goes, then basically you are just a very pedestrian, everyday, there's nothing special. And without the special, without the charm, business people will continue to travel because they have to. But you know what? Even business people are now revolting. And they're saying, I don't want to go. I could just do it on Zoom. And it's not worth the hassle. And it's not worth all the problems. And they don't treat me very well. And the food is less good than it used to be. And this is less good than it used to be. And now businesses are having to pay people extra in order to go to meetings because they don't want to go. And that's gonna hurt the tourism industry radically.
No, absolutely. And there's so many examples, Peters. If you go to a hotel and you just or on an airport hotel, I never understand the reason. If you go to the Marriott Hotel at Newark airports, there are people flying in from India, from Tokyo, from all different time zones. But you can only get an espresso coffee, what I love, that, until like 11 in the morning. So you come there at 3 in the afternoon, you're tired, you want your espresso. No, Starbucks is closed in an airport hotel.
Right.
It doesn't make sense. A lot of things don't.
Yeah. The other thing I do think is being in Bogota's airport is really quite beautiful. It showed me again how much, especially if you're going to the New York airports, how really in poor condition they are. And how the air and travel infrastructure in the United States is just not what it should be. It doesn't compare to Tokyo or to Singapore or to Bogota or to Tel Aviv or to many of the places around the world. It's just second rate.
No, and that has always been the case. I mean, you have wonderful airports. Look at Munich. I think Munich came up with the idea to have a shopping mall in the airport. So people actually from the city are coming to the shopping mall at Munich Airport, and they have a brewery there. There's a lot of fun things to do. Why not? People have time at the airport many times.
Sure.
They want to do something pleasant.
You have the zoo at Singapore, and
Right.
one of my favorite airports is outside of Seoul, Korea, where there's just a million things going on a regular basis. And one of the things I don't understand is why they don't have concerts and a movie theater. And especially, I was stuck coming home from Bogota. My plane landed at 12 o'clock, and my next flight, though somebody gave me a ride, but my next flight was really scheduled for 8 o'clock that evening, which means I would have had an 8-hour layover. And, it would be nice at the hotel. The airport had something more to do than just walk up and down the aisles or go to an executive lounge. But that was all there is, and rather than, there could have been a movie theater, a poetry reading, bookstores, creativity. And if the tourism industry is not going to be creative, and it's not going to give charm, and it's not going to give something special, it's going to have a lot of problems.
Yeah, and actually airport infrastructure has to be improved. I mean, there are a few airports that make some sense. I always like in Vegas, they have the 24-hour fitness inside the terminal. So that's a good thing to have. Why not?
People have the time and they have the money. People are traveling are not poor on the
Exactly.
whole.
But Peter, tell us, what did you do in Colombia? I understand you spoke at an event with tourism police, right?
Yep. So this was really, I'm very proud of this event. This is the first major tourism security conference in Latin America. It was this all Spanish speaking event. They combined it very well, though there was a translation for people online. And there were about approximately 200 people who attended the event in person. And then there were up to 2,000 people, depending, who came in and on to the event virtually. And those people could also sign up for translation. So these were people who came from all over the world. We had two representatives from Europe, one from Spain and one from France, spoke about the big problem in France of pickpocketing, which is a major problem, especially in Paris. But then we had people from Buenos Aires, from Chile, from the Dominican Republic, from El Salvador. I represented the United States, and it was really a chance for people across Latin America, Peru, Guatemala, for people across Latin America, and a large delegation from Mexico, and really to the World Tourism Network's credit, and I have to give us both a pat on the back. Manuel Flores, who was the first Latin American to win our Heroes of Tourism Award, came, and he brought a large delegation, and he was feted because of the fact that everyone recognized the importance of the Heroes Award. So that really made me feel good that people, without my prompting them, they were talking about how great that was. This was a chance for people to share tourism policing. Tourism policing in Latin America has come a very long way. And it was a chance for people to talk about problems and issues. Most people in Latin America are ready to be done with COVID. I don't think that's anything news to anybody else, because I think most people in the world would like to go beyond COVID. If that's going to happen or not, I know there's a new variant that's now coming out of England. I forgot the name of it, but I'm sure I will learn it. But it's a variant of the Delta virus. I sure hope it's not going to close things down again.
Yeah, hopefully. I just booked my flights to England today to attend the World Travel Market. I'm kind of looking forward. So don't scare me. Tell me after I get back.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they will not close England while you're there.
Exactly. Yeah, we never know. It's a crazy world. Right now, it looks like the hotel industry in England is doing well. Hotels in London have record prices I've never seen ever that high. And so it looks like.
Is that because they're doing well, or because they're charging to compensate for not doing well?
Yeah, I guess that's what it is. But when talking about, before we get to close today, tourism police in the United States, it really doesn't exist, does it?
It does exist, but it's not as well developed as in other parts of the world. And it's very important because the United States has a reputation for becoming more and more of a dangerous country. New York, which was 30 years ago was considered a very dangerous city, then became, of course, a very safe city. And currently it's become a very dangerous city again, with people being thrown into subway tracks and all sorts of problems that are taking place in New York. The murder rate in New York and Chicago and Washington has gone through the roof. And that's really hurting American tourism. And again, sometimes I'm fearful in this country, we live in a bubble. We don't realize that much of the rest of the world is progressing. So we are academically doing fine in tourism security. We haven't applied it as well as we should across the country. More and more, for example, in my hometown in College Station, Texas, they call it the CSTEP program, which stands for College Station Tourism Entertainment Zone. So there is so they call it entertainment district. But we need to educate our police. We need to have special units. And of course, one of the big problems in the United States is, and you pointed to that before, is the lack of manpower. And so much of the media has been so hard on the police that many of them thrown up their hands and said, we don't need this. We can go to job something else. And so we are not gaining police officers in the United States. We are losing police officers. We'll have to see what's going to happen next week in Chicago, but because of the U.S. federal government mandates, many police are quitting, and that's Chicago could lose up to half its police next week, and it's a city that's a disaster to begin with. Portland cannot keep police. You were just in Portland. You saw that it's a terrible place, Portland, unfortunately. Seattle, Washington, it's becoming so dangerous that people like Microsoft are talking about moving out. And these are the results of policies that are not thought through very well.
Yeah, definitely we need improvement in many of our towns. And Chicago, that is a scary thought because Chicago is already the murder city of this country, and
Right.
we don't need any more. And so let's hope we get this under control. Peter, it's great to have you back.
Yes, it's
And-
great to see you. We'll continue this either online someplace during the week or someplace around the world. I'm not quite sure how we're going to do it, but we're going to figure it out. But I hope all our listeners have enjoyed today's little show.
Yeah, and if you wanted to listen to this show again or to our many other events, just go to our YouTube channel. It's linked from all our websites, also from the website you're watching us now from. Or if you forget, just go to youtube.com/travel news group and you can find everything we've done in the past, or go to livestream.travel. It's also there. Peter, I hope you have a nice evening.
Thank you. And you have a good lunch and enjoy the wonderful weather in the Aloha State.
I certainly will. Take
Take
care.
care. Bye-bye.